How do you protect? How do you secure your deposit in a real estate transaction? Some people out there don't even know what a deposit is. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what a deposit is and why we do it in a real estate transaction. I'm also going to walk you through how much you should be looking to put down as a deposit when you get into a deal. Also, I want to show you the shortest and fastest way people lose their deposit in the real estate transaction. You won't believe this. And then I'm going to show you the ways to secure your deposit. When you get in a transaction, there are things you can do right from the beginning to secure that deposit. All right? And then I'm going to also show you ways to get the deposit back. My name is Yemi. This is The Right Property, where I bring you information before deals. What is a deposit? All right. If you've ever been in a real estate transaction, you submit an offer. The agent must have told you we need to pay so much money as a deposit in the next 24 hours. In the whole of Canada, it's usually 24 hours. However, in the offer, there are ways to change that. But you got to drop something as soon as you can so that the seller knows that you're serious. Okay? It's a show of good faith to the seller, as well as showing the seller that you have a skin in the game. All right? So deposit is needed, or sellers will never take you seriously. They just keep looking for other buyers. So as a buyer, you must deposit something. All right? That's what a deposit is and why we deposit. Whenever you deposit, the brokerage you're giving the money to puts it in a trust fund. Anything can happen in a trust fund. Someone in the brokerage, maybe they have access to the account, can embezzle that money. So while you're waiting for your deal to close, someone that believes they need the money more than you gets to, abscond with the money. At that point, what do? RICO guarantees whatever you have as deposit up to $100,000. But when you're doing a $3 million deal, $5 million deal, $100,000 deposit sounds like an insult to the seller. So the market demands you to drop more when you're doing a high-end deal. So in that case, always keep in mind your coverage for insurance is still $100,000. RICO does not want to know how much your deal is or why you had to put more than 100. If anything happens to your deposit, you're only covered for 100,000. All right? The fastest way people lose money, people lose their deposit in real estate is through multiple offers. We call it bidding wars. Okay? In multiple offers, a whole bunch of people do not put conditions because they want the seller to pick them. Whole bunch of people have the deposit attached to the offer. Usually it's a photocopy of the deposit. And when the seller picks them, the seller knows this is ready to go. They're going to drop it in my account in the next 24 hours. It's a way to show the seller you're serious. But the condition, the lack of condition, is the reason why most people lose deposit through multiple offers. If you've seen my video, I warned against multiple offers many times. I've been warning against multiple offers. Okay, it's very risky, and it's the shortest way for you to lose your deposit. That brings us to how you protect and secure your deposit. It's very easy. Mortgage finance clause. It looks like this. As you read this, you notice there's a date, there's a time, and if you as a buyer cannot secure mortgage, the seller must return your deposit. So if you want to protect your deposit, if you want to secure your deposit, before you submit the offer, include a mortgage finance clause. Reason being, you don't work in a bank. You don't know what the bank is going to decide. You have to give the bank some days to look at your paperwork and decide they want to do your deal. If you waive that condition or you exclude that condition from your offer, you're putting your deposit at risk. And some deposits are more than $100,000. So please be aware. The only for sure way to secure a deposit is through a mortgage finance clause. You can put some other clauses in there, but any clause that states that if this clause is not completed or waived in writing by the buyer, deposit will be returned to the buyer without any deduction. If there is no clause like that on your offer, your deposit is already in jeopardy. All right? The only way to make sure that deposit works for you is to make sure you close that deal. It's that simple. All right? So that's the surest guarantee way to secure your deposit, because if that condition is not met, the next thing your agent does is they fill out a mutual agreement. Yeah, if the condition doesn't work, if the condition is not fulfilled, you have the right to go ahead and do a mutual agreement. Mutual agreement means both parties are mutually agreeing to let each other off the hook from the agreement. All right? Once you put an offer in and the seller receives the offer, you have an agreement. The seller says yes, you say yes. So the only way to cancel that agreement is to both mutually release each other. And when you do that, it's stated right there that the brokerage holding your deposit releases the deposit back to where it came from the buyer. That way, everybody goes their own way. As a buyer, you can always find another house to buy. And at that point, whatever is missing from your paperwork that the bank was looking for, maybe you have it. So you have what the bank needs, and then you also have your deposit, which gives you access to look for another house. So there's always houses out there. Don't risk your deposit when the bank has not given you a straight answer. So be aware of that. And if you do not use your conditions and your mutual release, like I said, you have to close the deal. If you do not close the deal, your deposit can be a goner as well. All right? So closing the deal, mutual release, and mortgage finance clause. These are the three most surest ways of you securing your deposit. If you have an offer that does not have the condition, or your agent cannot do a mutual release, your deposit is in danger. Okay? So be aware of that. And then there are three ways to get back your deposit. Say after closing, after you've not been able to close, you have three ways. You can still sit with the seller and try to explain your situation to them. Some sellers are God-fearing, they just say return the deposit back to the buyer. It's okay. They sign whatever they need to sign, and the brokerage releases it. All right? You can still do a mutual release at that point if you agree. Some sellers will agree with the buyer to take a portion of the deposit and give the rest back to the buyer. That's also good. The third way is through the courts. Okay? If the seller and buyer do not agree and mutually release each other, or take a portion and split the deposit somehow, only the courts can decide. And let me tell you, by the time you involve lawyers and spend money and time and effort, the court can still say seller takes all, or say buyer takes all. Someone is still going to lose, and that person has lost so much money and so much time. And whatever court says is what the brokerage is going to do. So there is no ways around it. If seller and buyer cannot agree, the court decides for them. These are the ways you can get your deposit back, you know, even after you can't close. The court weighs they weigh everything, and they decide who goes on with the deposit, or who goes on with portion of the deposit. So before it gets there, use your conditions, use your mutual release, okay, or close your deals and secure your deposit, because with the deposit comes the rest of the payment. Adding to the deposit now becomes your down payment. All right. So these are the simple steps in securing your deposit, protecting your deposit, saving all that money that took you years to gather together, and giving you the opportunity to go after another house or unit or whatever you're trying to buy. Gives you a second chance at doing that. Secure your deposit, and I will see you at the top.